The radio crackled violently in the shattered bunker, static swallowing every desperate plea. Anna's fingers trembled over the worn dials, sweat stinging her eyes as explosions shook the ground beneath her. Shellfire lit the sky in terrible bursts as around her, chaos reigned. Communications were their lifeline, but the enemy knew it too well, jamming, intercepting, hunting. Amid the deafening roar, Anna did the impossible. She kept the line open. Her voice, strained yet steady, relayed coordinates for rescue, warnings of enemy movement, cries for reinforcements when all hope seemed lost. But who was she, really? And why was her story buried in silence for decades? She was not just a voice amid the chaos. She was the heartbeat of the operation, the unseen force that shifted tides and shaped survival. It was 1944, deep in the European theater where war had ground into a relentless slaughter. The air hung heavy with the smell of cold mud, burnt diesel, and gunpowder. The once vibrant fields and wooded ridges had become a frozen wasteland, scarred by trenches and ruined by battle. Anna, barely 20, stationed at a forward command post, was nestled in a cramped makeshift shelter no larger than a coffin, surrounded by packs of radios and blinking bulbs. The distant crack of rifles mixed with anguished cries created an unforgiving symphony that played day and night. A frontline radio operator was a fragile cord linking isolated soldiers to the very nerve center of command. Without her, coordination would crumble. But Anna's situation was more perilous than most. The enemy had recognized the power of the unseen voice disrupting their plans and were obsessively hunting her position. The moment she first grasped the gravity of her role came swiftly when an intense artillery barrage flattened much of her communication line. Her radio was the last working device between the embattled troops and reinforcements. The bunker shook violently as enemy shells drew closer, ears ringing, nerves raw. Anna's first transmission under fire was a breath held too long, a voice steady against the storm. "This is Operator Anna. Request immediate extraction for Platoon Delta. Coordinates Delta 43. They're surrounded and running low on ammo." No longer just messages, her voice was a lifeline, flinging hope into an abyss of despair. But with every transmission, she drew the enemy nearer. The crackle of destroyed radios around her, the terrified glances of nearby soldiers, and the ever-present threat of a soldier lost in the artillery storm formed an unyielding crucible. The struggle escalated as the enemy deployed jamming signals, trying to sever the delicate thread she maintained. Minutes stretched into endless agony. Silence on the radio meant death. Anna improvised, tapping out messages with code keys, switching frequencies with frantic precision to stay one step ahead. Each transmission carried a hidden burden, her own secrets embedded in coded signals, vital intel intercepted from enemy communications which she risked her life decoding. The weight of every soldier's survival bore down on her, yet she never faltered. Fear was constant. The primal dread of discovery gnawed at her as enemy patrols scoured nearby woods, and the thick smoke masked every shadow and silhouette. The bunker's walls reverberated with each nearby explosion, and every flicker of light was a warning sign. Yet, beneath the terror, adrenaline sharpened her senses, her fingers dancing over the keys faster than any machine. She was more than a voice. She was a shield, a beacon, a phantom presence striking at the heart of enemy plans from behind their lines. At the climax, the situation descended into utter chaos. Enemy troops breached the perimeter. The bunker was under direct assault. Telephones cut, batteries dying, radio frequency crawling with interference. Anna's breath hitched. With enemies inches away, she risked the final transmission, a desperate call for air support that could mean salvation or reveal her position. "This is Operator Anna. Coordinates immediate airstrike on enemy advance, grid 79. Send backup now." Seconds stretched like hours before roaring engines answered, and the distant thunder of bombs sent enemy soldiers scattering. Anna slumped to the ground, voice trembling as a sickening realization settled. She was alone and exposed. What came next was a silent evacuation, but her message had turned the tide in ways never officially recorded. The devastating truth hidden for decades is that Anna's transmissions were double-edged. The enemy intercepted many of her codes, exploiting the information to orchestrate ambushes that cost countless lives. But her unwavering presence also fed critical intelligence gathered by Allied cryptographers who cracked enemy communications. Her role was not just survival, but shadow warfare, where every message was a gamble between betrayal and salvation. Anna's story reveals a brutal reality often glossed over.